What's up, guys? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Just doing a couple systems checks. Just wanted to make sure everything's working right. You guys should be able to see me at this point. You guys should be able to hear me, hopefully. So usually one of the things that I like to do is when I start streaming and occasionally throughout the session, I like to just, do a quick call out and ask if you guys can hear me and see me. I like to go through a little bit of housekeeping also, because sometimes streaming for some folks is a little bit different or a little bit new. And I just want to make sure that you guys kind of know, what could happen if something, bugs out, if your audio doesn't work or if something like that happens. So let's go through it. And the first and foremost thing is, welcome and good morning. I'm super excited to have you guys. This is the live stream portion of your SP40, your salesperson's pre-licensing course. So this is the thing that you need to do in order to complete your hours with the state, and then in order to sit for the examination. So you have to do this to get to that. And I'm excited to be that in between you and that examination. I've been doing this for quite a long time. I really enjoy teaching. It's one of the things that I really, really look forward to on a regular basis. I do this very part-time, but I do it once a month, once every other month, and I love it. I've been doing it for years, and I've been tutoring and teaching folks for a long time as well. Well over 30 years. All through high school and everything else. Math and science and stuff like that. So for me to do this is an absolute treat. And I'll share a little bit more of my story and sort of how I've, came to be in the real estate business and everything else, and sort of what I've done in it, to date. So hopefully, you'll feel confident that you're being trained by a competent, qualified teacher, I hope. We'll go from there. But my name is D. The full name is D. Kumar. I've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, it is a thrill to have you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So what this is that 26-hour live stream piece, and we kind of break it up over 2 consecutive weekends. You guys are going to be with me this weekend and next weekend. It goes by very quickly, believe it or not. There's so much content to ingest that we just have to go through a lot of stuff. This is sort of the coupling to the homework that you guys were given. That homework is going to be that 14 hours of on-demand video homework. So that's sort of what that's going to be, okay? All right. So first off, a couple of bits about housekeeping. Number one, the stream that you guys are receiving is going to be delayed. So by the time it leaves this studio and by the time it gets to y'all, it's going to be about a minute. All right. So everything coming out of my mouth, you guys are receiving about a minute later. It's kind of like, cosmic in a way, I guess. You can say like the sun is 7 light minutes away from Earth kind of thing. But it's not that drastic, obviously. But, we have this delay. What that simply means is by the time things are getting to me, if I'm reading questions, by the time I'm reading questions and responding to questions, there might be a slight delay. And usually what happens is as the stream continuity sort of marches forward over time, that 1 minute gap kind of shrinks a little bit. But then when we take a break or if we change shots and stuff like that, then it could go back up to a minute, just so you know. Now, I'm constantly monitoring everything. So you're going to see my eyes wander just a little bit. You guys are my camera center right here. And I'll always try to bring it back to you guys. But I have some monitors over here. I have some monitors over here. I have some monitors over here. I have some equipment over here. I have a Surface over here. I've got some switching gear over here. So there's going to be a little bit of times where I'm going to be looking around and doing a couple of things, a couple of mechanics, a couple of moves to change from scene to scene. Like I can go from this scene to that scene. We can do picture in picture. So I'll be able to do some of this stuff on the fly to help you guys learn a little bit better as we're annotating slides, as we're writing some notes, as we're doing stuff, as we're jumping in between the textbook and stuff. So, that'll just give you a better idea of where things are at. So we have all of this gear so we can do a lot more sort of in-depth learning as we're streaming. With streaming, however, stuff happens. Now, one of the things I'm doing is I'm constantly monitoring our upstream. How we're going, are there any drop frames? Are there any issues, any glitches? We are streaming through fiber optic cabling. So we have a very, very stable, single static IP, dedicated line. Nobody else has it. So we have, all of the bandwidth with zero latency problems that regular broadband internet has. So when it leaves the studio, it's leaving it at a pretty good integrity. Sometimes when it gets to recipients, it depends on your internet quality, right? So if you are in an area that's highly congested, it's relatively early now on a weekend. I say relatively, we're all up super duper early, but it's still relatively early. So a lot of, depending on the areas that you're in, some of the users around you, some of your neighbors might not be sucking up bandwidth. But once people start waking up and using more streaming devices and stuff like that, then you start to see this quality diminish potentially, depending on where you are. So you might see a dropout. You might see the audio drops out. You might hear that the video drops out. So let's just do a test now. Can everybody hear me and see me right now? Just go ahead and respond in the chat. The chat is going to be the way that you and I communicate throughout the entire thing. It's going to be the way that Kate communicates with you and anybody that's going to be jumping on proctoring to make sure that you guys can have any of your questions answered. So just let's sound off there really quickly so I can double check it. I'm looking at the chat response right here in front of me. And as you guys are doing that, a couple of the patches, the fixes. Let's say if your audio drops or you can't see a video or you can't hear the audio in the video or something like that, usually the best thing to do is log out and log back in. That's absolutely fine to do. Now, your attendance has to be strictly monitored. So number one, we do sound offs throughout the day. Sound offs are going to be, I ask you a question and you answer that question. And don't worry, I'll ask you that question a couple of times and I'll say, hey, this is an official sound off. When you hear me say this is an official sound off, perk up, listen for the question, and then you have to respond to my question. Now, we are monitoring those responses to make sure that you guys are engaging with us. Part of the deal with the state is that we want to make sure that there's interaction, and the state wants us to monitor interaction with our students. Now, we're not going to be turning on your videos at this point, but we will have a guest speaker come in and join us. I will have sort of an open, I guess you can call it like a cocktail, I wouldn't call it an hour, but maybe a little bit less than that, where we're just kind of getting to know each other. If you want to do that and join in with video at that point, that's fine. I look to do that towards the end of the session, just to kind of see your faces and get to know you a little bit better if you have specific questions or questions for the group collectively, or if the group wants to ask questions, and we'll have those moments open up. And we'll have a guest speaker. When the guest speaker comes in, we'll also have access to the videos. So do you need to have your videos on the entire time? The answer is no. Do you need to have your audios on the entire time? The answer is no. You just need to be able to listen to me and hear me. So we're going to be streaming the content. You're going to be watching the programming and learning that way. As questions come up, shoot me a question inside of the chat. And that's going to help you guys, get some clarity. Now, I've been doing this for a while, like I mentioned earlier. So a lot of the questions that you guys are going to have are not going to be unique to your group only. Many groups have same questions. I've been doing this a long time. So I've made points to augment my script accordingly. So for the most part, most of everything that I've come across teaching this particular subject, I have come across, and I try to bring in and integrate as many of those questions as I can into my performance so that you guys can get the well-rounded idea. However, if you have any questions whatsoever at all, you can ask me anything. Now, if it's an off-topic question, then I'm simply going to ask that we talk about it later. I might just say, I saw your question, I'm going to get to it in a little bit. So don't feel, like I didn't get to it right away. Don't think I didn't see it. I see everything. I hear everything. And if I miss something, Kate sees something and catches it. All right. So ask me anything you want, but let's try to keep it on topic because there's lots of topics that we have to cover. And I'd like to just keep the flow going if that's cool, just to get us through as much content as possible for you guys to get the most out of the, test prep. Now, for me, this is so much more than just a test prep class. My entire background revolves at some point in my adult life with real estate, and even some before while I was a kid. So real estate to me has always been a source of fascination. Not as much love, however, than the arts and music. So, my passion is, always been the arts and music. I've been a musician for a long, long time. I've been playing guitar since I was a little kid. And, I have degrees from Berklee College of Music. Some of my undergraduate degrees are from there. I've been performing and playing for a long, long time. So a lot of the way that I approach life, even business, happens to be very, very, artistically oriented. I kind of look at it from that prism. So for me, a lot of it is that. Now, when I came here, I had no intention of pursuing real estate, and it kind of happened to me. And as it happened to me, I needed, basically wanted to stay over the summer and finish up school a little bit faster. But they kicked me out of the dorms, and I needed a place to stay, and I didn't really want to go back to where, where I grew up, and go back for the summer. So I'm like, okay, I'd like to stay. And I needed to find some housing. So long story short, I ended up finding, I walked up and down several streets, and I found a real estate office. I popped my head in, and I met with the owner, and we just got to chatting. And I was like, I just need a place for the summer. And he said, well, I can absolutely help you with that. We got to chatting. He really liked me. And he said, hey, listen, I really like, the way that you are. I like the way that your personality is and stuff. Have you ever thought about doing this? And I was like, I just was one of those youngins. I was a 17-and-a-half-year-old about to turn 18, started school a little bit early on that side of it. So I didn't really know much, but I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, like some kind of a job. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll help you get your license. I've got these courses that you can take, and you can, study them. And then you take your real estate exam. If you can pass it, then, you're in. So I got in, and then he taught me, this new interest kind of came to fruition in my life. And while I was in music school, I was like, strengthening my other half of my brain. I was kind of getting into some stuff that I've always been into, the technical stuff. I always into big math and science and everything else. So, it kind of, helped pique my interest on things. So I started getting more and more immersed. I did a bunch of rentals and stuff in the area, and I started to save up a ton of money. And then one thing led to another. And when I turned 18, a little bit after, they just like, hey man, why don't you buy a place? I mean, you've got all this money saved up that I owe you from all these rentals. Why don't you do that? So lo and behold, I did. I went and bought a unit in the Fenway, and I was 18 years old, and it was an 805 square foot 2-bedroom unit. I ended up finding a roommate, and the roommate paid enough rent to cover my mortgage payments and my condo fees, and leave $100 left over for me. And I was 18. Let's not forget that. So to an 18-year-old, $100 is a whole lot of money. So, for me, that covered like my top ramen and my, burritos, my really cheap. It was like you can get 15 burritos for like, I think it was like $4 or $5. Who knows what was in them? Who knows what they were stuffed with? What kind of mystery meat? But, that's what I lived off of. But I was living free. So I was living large, and I had my own place. And a lot of people around campus didn't have their own places. A lot of professors at my university didn't have their own places. They were renting apartments and stuff. So I was different. It set me aside. It really psychologically helped me, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. Lo and behold, years and years and years and years later, other degrees, master's degree, I have a law degree, I have all this other stuff, all these other things happened, and I kept buying and investing and doing all these things, and I just really, it changed who I am. Had I not gotten into that opportunity and took a chance, by the way, on something completely new, and took a chance on learning this particular stuff, I would have never known about what the possibilities could have been. Fast forward now, and I'm a dad, I'm happily married. I wouldn't have met my wife and had my kids had it not been for my real estate endeavors, and everything else. Everything, my investments and where I lived brought my wife to me, because I had a roommate, and had I not been living here, I would have never met her. And then I would have never gotten married. I would have never had these beautiful kids who you probably meet. They'll like to, sort of photobomb our trainings every now and again to say hi to you. They're really cute. So, you're going to have to say hi to them. But, all of that wouldn't have happened. Now, recently, we just bought a beautiful house in an amazing, South Shore town, and we're moving to this awesome place, and we're renting out our big space here, and I mean everything is beautiful in that regard because of this chance I took when I was a basically homeless 18-year-old and had nowhere to go. And when I tell you I came here with literally nothing, I literally moved in with a suitcase and a guitar and an amplifier. I had like the 3 outfits, and that's about like it. So, I didn't come from anything. I really I look around me now and everything's amazing. If I didn't take a chance on this class, now why this class means so much to me to teach to you is because I hope that all of my students far surpass all of the things that I've done, along the way. I got into investment banking. I managed assets for, private annuitants. I grew a huge fund. I did all of these things. I got my series licenses. I mean, everything just went, right? And I started to really peak at this business, and I did really well at it. So I hope for you, this initial class means that transition, and it means that growth, and it means that excitement. So stay in touch with me after classes like this. I love it. And I know some of the names, I know some of the email addresses as far as like referrals and, all of these wonderful things. So thank you. Thank the people that referred you to us. I will take it seriously. I'll teach you to the best of my ability. I'll give you every drop of passion that I have for this business. And I'll also give you every warning shot across your bows about things where I screwed up and things that I might have made mistakes on, because I did. I made plenty. So along the way, feel free to ask me about those questions. I'm very well versed in, everything from residential to commercial to everything in between. We have commercial holdings. We have residential holdings. I just know lots of people in the industry, and I've been in Boston for almost, 30 years at this point. So for me, I know tons of the local firms and the principals and everybody else, the owners, the landlords, the big, the small, the whole thing. So I appreciate having that, and I appreciate sharing that with my students. So if there's anything I can do for you guys along the way outside of just learning some really cool stuff, then go about it. Now, for this stuff, this material that you're about to learn, if you're completely brand new, don't freak out. It's like a brand new language. There's all kinds of new words and phrases and all kinds of stuff happening, right? So take it with stride. I've been speaking this language for about plus 30 years. So you're hearing it with somebody that has a reasonable amount of fluency and understanding of this business through transactional experience and theoretical studies and all kinds of other things in between. So don't feel intimidated when I'm rattling things off, that you're a little confused about what I'm saying. Take it down, take a note. And there's going to be a lot of fog maybe for some of you. The fog will lift ultimately, but you have to stay at it. You're not going to just be good at it. And your knowledge and your ability to learn in this subject is not proven by how quickly you're able to get it. So if you think about it, like calculus took me a little while, but once I got it, man, I got it. So you just have to put some time into it and you will get it. Okay. For those of you that are a little bit farther along, for those of you that maybe own real estate, for those of you that are there, help out. If you can in the chat, help out, try to, help your fellow student if you can. Now listen, I submit to you, all you need is one of these connections, and that's the one connection that makes you millions and millions and millions of dollars. All I needed was one connection, all right? And I took a chance on that one connection, and now years later, it's a different story. I couldn't even go back to think about where all of the lefts and rights would have come had I not taken that chance way back then. But I wanted that decision was a big epicenter for me. That was a big, the nexus to a lot of other big things. So take a chance, learn. If you're doing this more exploratory, again, if this is, just check it out. This license, if you get it, can never hurt you. If you're in college and you're studying something else, or if you're professional and you're doing something else, and you're going to use this as a supplement, use it as a supplement. I just closed on a beautiful house, and I got back, $25,000 as a commission just because I bought the house. So not only was I able to buy an amazing property, I was also able to take a piece of the commission that everybody was sharing, and I got a piece of that commission just for buying the property. So, it's never going to hurt you. You, as a buyer, as an investor, you can utilize it, and if for those purposes. As a seller, you can save money. There's all kinds of amazing things that you can do with this license, so it's not going to hurt you. Even if this isn't what you're studying, even if this isn't what you're about, get this license and you'll be able to manipulate it and use it as you're continuing to grow and develop and thrive. Now, this license is only good in the state of Massachusetts, and this license is restricted in the fact that you can only practice if you are working underneath a broker. So that's one of the caveats to this license. You have to work with a broker in order to get paid. But do you need to be affiliated with the broker if you're not practicing? The answer is no. You can just keep the license, get the license and shelve it. You have to keep it renewed. So every 2 years you have to pay a renewal fee. And within every 2 years, you have to do 12 hours of continuing education. That's the only catch if you want to have an active license. If you want to have a license that's just on your shelf and you're not doing continuing ed, then that's something called inactive. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, just so you know, this license isn't going to hurt you. And the barrier to entry is not the economy of it. I mean, it is so darn cheap to get into the real estate licensing part of the business. It's nothing. I mean, you take a course, you study a little bit, and you pay a license fee. Now, I'm not saying that a few $100 isn't a lot of money. For some, maybe it is. And I get that. But if you go to college, let's comparatively look at it from a university degree, and the output of what a university degree is to what, the opportunities are in this business. And I'm telling you, the barrier to entry is amazing. you can go through, spend $160,000 on college, go spend all the money you want, and there's still no guarantee when you get out that you're going to be working even in the industry that you studied. There's probably not such a low probability, so what I'm comparing it to is a university style degree. Now, does that mean you don't go to universities, you don't study? No, you study, you do your work, you work as hard as you possibly can, because if you don't, then you don't. That's not going to help you in any way. So I'm not ever going to say don't go to college or anything else. But I've got colleagues in this business that make so much money doing this, and whatever they studied was what they studied, and everything else was amazing. I've got attorney friends that don't practice law, but they make all of their money in real estate, investments, syndications, doing deals, transactions, and repping people when it comes to brokerage. They make way more money than they could ever make in law. So, I've got just converted a trauma surgeon who was an amazing doctor, just had enough of all of that and just decided that they wanted to get into real estate investments, take a class, calm it down, and go work and do something else. The trauma surgery business just really, really cooked his mind, and he didn't want to do it anymore. I just had an epidemiologist just convert, and I also had a bunch of oncologists just leave the industry. Lots of nurses are leaving healthcare. So you're seeing transitions right now. A lot of people kind of getting into this sector. Is it a hard business? Yes, absolutely. Is this easy, road to riches? No, absolutely not. If you want to make money doing anything, you're just going to have to work. So if you don't have the capacity, the willingness, or the ability to work really hard and go after something, then you're not going to succeed at this, statistically speaking, and probably not much of anything else. So one of the prerequisites to getting into this business that I'm just going to say, you have to be willing to go forward and work and put in the time. Time is required, but this time that's required will be paid back to you tenfold if you just can make it through and put in some time and dedicate the effort. And if you do that and you surround yourself with the right people, you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you spend, the 5 people that you hang with are bozos, then you're going to become the 6th bozo. If you hang with 5 awesome people in the industry that are really good at what they do, and you watch what they do, you become the average of them. So just try to surround yourselves with that. And again, if you don't have anybody initially, that's what I'm around for. I'm your teacher. I'm there. I'm somebody that really practices what they preach. I'm an investor. That's really what I am. So if you want to learn and you want to kind of hang, then, ingest my content, read my articles, reach out to us, share, communicate with us, join our Facebook groups, just be a part of the conversation, and we'd be happy to have you. Okay. So that being said, thank you again. I look forward to this. Let's dive in. Now, you guys kind of have some housekeeping rules. Well, another thing that I want to do is I want to give you some contact information. So I'm going to kind of cut over to this slide. And when you see the slide coming up, I'm going to show you some stuff. All right. So here, what you're seeing is the contact information, some of the best practices and the best ways to get a hold of us. So first off, let me introduce you to Kate. Kate Tofuri is our director of operations. She handles pretty much everything and farms, anybody that she works under her, she kind of has them help her do stuff. So Kate kind of runs the show, and I'm kind of the guy that just does the teaching and the content building and stuff like that. Okay. So we have a couple of ways to contact us. We can go through Kate, which is katehostgroup@gmail.com. That's one of the best ways to get a hold of her. All right. And quite honestly, any questions that you have, please address them to Kate, and she'll be able to respond to you guys. To get in touch with me during the live class, you guys have my cell phone number right there. It's 617-633-7534. That number is my business cell phone for the school. Now, I don't pick it up if you call it. It just forwards to voicemail. But if you want to shoot me a text message, that is fine. But all official communications should come through the chat in the live stream, and email to Kate. So please send it there. But if there's something that you want to do, if you want to reach out, if you want to get in touch, if you're running late, if there's an issue, no big deal. Just shoot me a text message. Or if you're having a technical issue, do it there. But if you're having a tech issue, even better, just make sure you reach out through the chat service. And that's a really, really good way to do that. So just reach out to chat and then we'll do that. Now, another thing that I want to show you, let me kind of show you here, is if we go to our screen, and if, oops, sorry about that. Let me just run to this and launch a browser. Okay, so if we go to our website as well, and if you're here, and our website is just hostgroup.us. If you go to hostgroup.us right now, you guys can check out on the bottom left of our website, of any of our pages, we have this help icon. And that help icon, it goes to a messenger chat. And you guys can chat with us there. And believe it or not, that we are very quick with Messenger. So, just if you need to get a hold of us, that really works. I mean, I know a lot of people might do that, and not really, hear back from people. We're pretty dang quick. So I would just say that that's something that you want to know, that that's one of the fastest ways that you can get a response from us outside of emailing Kate, chatting with us, because somebody else is always monitoring that, and that's probably the way to do it, right? So I would just say focus on those things in a way to get in touch with us. Now, of course, listen, if you need a call back, I will call you back, or somebody will call you back if need be. But most of the time, most of the questions, and I'm talking a huge percentage of questions, can be simply answered by going about it that way. So just reach out to us through the official modes of communication. That's going to be the best thing for you guys to get the most, quick answer. Again, like I said, I'm not doing this full time. So for me to call people back becomes a drop in service, and that's why. But we don't drop the service when it comes to responding to the other methods. So I would say just reach out to us that way. That's probably the fastest ways, to get a hold of us. All right, so there's that chat. There's always that on the bottom. On the bottom of our website, we're going to have some articles here that are going to help you. I'm going to show you these, but on our homepage, you're going to see these articles. So I'm going to show you these in just a little bit. But let's kind of get into the materials and kind of show you what's going on, and then we'll go from there. All right, so first things first, there's that. Oh, and by the way, we're actually streaming. If you go to our Facebook page for Host Group Real Estate Academy, you'll find us right there. So if any friends that are remote that want to check it out, right now, we're going to be streaming there for a little bit, just to kind of, to reach out to more folks. So if you want to tell your friends, hey, check out a class, it looks like this is going to be pretty cool. If you're interested, go and have them check out that page, and they can interact there. There's no gateway or anything. You just got to go to our Facebook page, Host Group Real Estate Academy. Kate will post it in the chat. All right. So right now, I want to kind of go through a couple of more different things. So let me do this. Here we go. We have a bunch of materials, and I want to kind of go through those really quickly and share with you sort of what we have. Now, the first supplement, if you will, that you were given is a book for the course. It's a digital book, and the title of the book is Modern Real Estate Practice 20th Edition. So this is like the flagship book. This sells the most copies in the United States. This publishing company, Dearborn, which is a subsidiary of Kaplan, which is, the big educational powerhouse. Well, they put this book out. Now, this is, like I said, the most popular book, so I happen to be using it in this iteration of this course. It's a good book. It's solid. The one sort of setback in this book is that this book doesn't cover the actual state-specific content. So this book covers the national content, all of that stuff, okay? But it does, cover all of the mass pieces that are not state-specific mass legislation. I have that parked elsewhere, and I'm going to show you where the Massachusetts content is. But this book covers a lot of content, and it's really going to get you there most of the way. Now, we don't give out hard copies anymore, just because this class is a live streaming class, so you guys are all given access through a reader known as Vital Source, and Bookshelf is their product. So Vital Source is the reader for this book, and the publisher is Dearborn, and that's who puts out the book. So it's a good book. Now, one of the things that Kate is going to send you, or sent you already, is an ability to share my highlights. Let me kind of show you this. Let me get out of your way. if you go to the bookshelf and you log in and you're looking at this screen for you guys, and you click on, let me just show you the little triangle tool, it says right here. If you click on that, there's a sharing tab. And if you click on that, it says, I am following and my followers. Like, okay, this link is that Kate is going to email you is to follow me and my highlights and my notes that are already in the book. And as you know, this is all of the recent students that have just taken the course, and they're all following, the highlights and everything else. Now, once you are following me, I will show up here. You'll say these are the people that you are following, so I'll show up here. And it's just a link that's it has my name in there and stuff. Let me just see if I can. It just says D host group at Gmail. So there you'll see D host group. So if you see a link with like a long trail and it just kind of says D host group, that's the link. So Katie's going to send you that. And if you click on that while your VitalSource bookshelf is open, then you'll be able to share my highlights and share my notes. Okay. Now, all of you, quick question, can all of you access your textbooks? And for this class, it's going to be helpful if you guys can access these textbooks. And let me pop into mine and just kind of orient you a little bit if you haven't done it yet. Now, it's all about real estate on your screen. I'm using a really big, almost a 30-inch, reader. So, I have a lot of real estate, so I can put a lot of different things all over the place. I can throw me up there. I can do all kinds of stuff. But I just want you to be able to get through this book and negotiate or navigate through it. Now, my screen size is going to be a little bit bigger because I'm streaming this to you guys. I want you to be able to see my screen. So, I have it at a 1920 1080 aspect, so it's kind of blown up, and I've blown up the text a little bit, right? So it's a little bit bigger. But for you guys can always scale up and scale down the size by going to this, A right up here, the reader preferences, kind of launch that, and it'll kind of go through how you can, sort of look at it, what sort of margin width, line height, and all kinds of other things. The mode, the font you can pick, and then you can pick the text size. There's also this highlighter preference. You can pick from these different highlighters. Anytime in a highlighter you see two people, that means that if you are sharing or you are sharing with other people, you can also do that. You can form your own study groups. You can see each other's highlights. So I typically make mine in green. So if you guys want to use like rad red, and this way you won't get confused as to who's making the highlights and stuff like that. You can share as obviously we said that we can follow, or we can follow other links. And then there's this thing called Coach Me. Coach Me allows for embedded questions in the digital textbook. So as you're reading through the textbook, questions will pop up. On the lower right, there's a little button that pops up. So if you want that enabled, then you can leave that there. I'll leave it enabled on mine so you guys can see it. And there's also some notification settings. So here's sort of the reader preferences. There's this general search across the book tab. So you can click here and type in a vocab phrase, and it'll go to that section in the book. There's the ability to make flashcards and export your notes. So as notes are being entered in here, you'll be able to go ahead and, print them out or export them. You can export them as a PDF, or you can export them to like Microsoft Notebook or something like that. You can put bookmarks in wherever you want, and then you can convert various things into flashcards and make flashcard decks. So that's really, really useful. And that's the highlights, notes, bookmarks, and flashcards icon, which is the little star up in the upper right corner here. Okay. There's other items here. You can print features, download the app. Now, the access to this book, if you read it off of the online bookshelf.com, vitalsource.com site, their servers, then the book is good for 6 months. If you download the app, then you guys can read it, and you have it for a year. So if you read it on your local computer, then you can have access to the book for a year. If you are reading it off of their servers, you have access to this textbook for 6 months. All right, so we buy you a license for 6 months. If you want to extend that license, then you absolutely can. I don't know if it's that too expensive. It might be like $25 or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Kate can find out maybe later. All right, so there is that. Then as far as on this side, the little three parallel lines, that's to open up your table of contents. Now, they don't call these units, they call them units, not chapters. So I'll be referring to each unit. So unit 2, unit 3, that just means chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, that kind of thing. There's the different sections. There's the preface to the book, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. There's the units themselves. If you twirl one of these down, every unit opens up with a learning objective. What are we trying to do here? And then the content. And then towards the very end of each unit, there is a key points review. If you click on that, that's just a bullet point summation of that chapter. So I think if you're reading, go through this and go through it. Now, there is some audio. It's really kind of like, monotonous, droning audio. It's not me doing it. It's just a reader. It might even be an AI engine. It could be just a lady that's kind of, monotone. But if for you auditory learners out there, it might benefit you to listen to the audio.
Unit 2, Real Property and the Law.
So listen to the audio first, and then this person will go through all of these items here. Then go back and read this. So sometimes folks learn better by listening. Sometimes people learn faster by listening. So you maybe want to listen to the audio first, and then you can't download any of this audio, but I'm going to show you where you can possibly download my audio from my lecture so you can learn there. So that's the key points review. It's just a summation of the entire chapter. So you might want to do that depending on the units that we're in. Every single unit ends with a unit quiz. And these quizzes are dynamic. Another cool reason about having a digital book versus a physical book is that you can go through and take all these quizzes and then you can reset them and take them again. Now, there is that if you enabled that question feature, these questions do pop up, these practice questions. So you can go to these practice questions and go ahead and sort of approach these test questions. So you can go through, and it's like this one happens to be like a fill in the blank, and it goes through some fill in the blanks here. These are the vocab phrases that they're testing from, okay? And then you can check your answers. So that's a pretty useful feature along the way. Now, every unit has these quizzes and key points reviews. And I'm going to show you where you can download the actual outlines for each unit as well in just a minute. But if you go down towards the bottom of this book, go all the way to the bottom of the table of contents, there's a few great things here. Number one, there's a glossary, all vocab phrases. You can also look up vocab phrases by that search bar again. So you can put in that upper right corner here, and you can search that way. So there's a glossary. There is two full sample examinations that are dynamic. Now, these two exams are covering the national portion of the exam. You're going to be taking a final exam with us, and that's going to cover the state portion of your exam. There will be mathematics on this exam. There is a math frequently asked questions section. Very well written, by the way. It does a good job. For those that are a little bit nervous about the math, you'll be able to use a calculator on the exam, and they'll be giving you some basic problems. Problems on measurements, problems on fractions, decimals, percentages, some questions on percentage problems, proration problems, and they're going to give you all of those on the exam. You'll get about 8 scored math questions on this thing, all right? So this is a good way to prep for it, to take some practice questions. And by the way, this math section also has a real estate math practice problems. So there's an entire math test right here. So you can kind of work on that. And there's about 50 questions there. All right, so there's some math questions for you right there. That's your table of contents, sample examinations, and all this other stuff. Now what I want you to do is I want you to follow me all the way to the beginning of this book and meet me at the preface. I want all of you to message me when you guys are at the preface to the textbook. So please send me a message in the chat. I'll wait for you. I'll sip some tea as I'm waiting. You get to the preface of the book. It says preface. It's all the way at the top. If you go into the table of contents, second one down, that's the preface. So you're going to meet me right here, and I'm just going to chill for a minute, just grab a sip of some tea, and then while you guys are going to message me that you were at the preface, because I want to show you the next item. once we get to the preface of the book, and I'm seeing you guys are there. Good. Pleasure to have all you guys. It's a big group. Good to see you guys there. All right, so we're at the preface of the book. Sweet. Keep them coming in. You guys are awesome. Towards the bottom of the preface, if you go down here to the special feature section, I highlighted a little number here. There's 19671. And below that, there's a link. Click on that link. When you click on it, it's going to take you to the Modern Real Estate Practice 20th edition landing page. When you get here, if you're going to go up to the top right on the menu and click on Resources, go to Instructor and Student Resources. Click on that. Boom. Go to your student resources. Now scroll down and it says access your student resources. Now, click on that. Boom. Oh, it's going to ask you for a password. So that password, if you go back to your textbook, this is your password. So 19671 is the password. You can remember that. Go here and put that there in the password, 19671, and click enter. Enter the 36 chambers. All right, so once you get in, on the right side are all of the units in your textbook. All right, so boom, let's go open one up, say 2, twirl that down. Here, you guys have your unit outlines. So these are just docs. All right, you can open them up in any word processing style software. And when you do, you open these up and they're just standard outlines. I'm just going to pop one open and see. So here is that outline. And, there's nothing to it. It's just, standard Army issue style outlines, right? Really straight up to each outline, to each unit. Now, you're going to find this pretty useful if you guys are, let's say, not great note takers, or you want to get the main points and you want to have it, correlate back to the book. And so this is a great way to do it. So if you're taking notes and building slides or building PowerPoints or building flashcards or learning decks or whatever you're doing, all of this you can pull right from here, and now you have them. So I wouldn't use it, warning, I wouldn't use it for the lazy factor. The lazy factor is going to be risky. Be mindful that there's very, very possible that, sometimes if you have too much, you guys might, not to take it seriously. Take notes, write down what you do, learn how you learn, but utilize these if you need to. If we're talking about land, you might want to go to the outline and go, oh, here's land. Okay. Immobility and destructibility, uniqueness. And then I also mentioned that unique is also referred to as non-homogeneity, right? So you might want to write those phrases down, but that here they sort of are. And then that's going to help you as you guys are learning. All right. So that's a good way to do it, but that's where those unit outlines are. So I'm going to twirl that sucker back up. And then there's this other supplement here that is called QBank Access. So with this course, we're going to give you software so that you can practice 500 practice questions in a simulated test environment. That's called QBank. So QBank here, it's part of your course. It's free. It's part of your tuition. And all you have to do is just access the QBank on the left. So click on this. Now, Modern Real Estate Practice QBank Let me just read this to you really quickly. This versatile QBank gives students the power to simulate nearly every testing environment imaginable, from full-length licensing examinations to individual topic mini exams. Key features: you can quiz yourself with hundreds of multiple choice questions. I think at the last that I've checked, it was like around 500-ish questions. Build exams using topics and numbers of questions that you select. So you can pick like contract questions. You can pick like, fair housing questions. You can do it like that. View answers and explanations, pinpoint problem areas, and create customized personal notes, all that correlate back to the actual textbook. For you to get access to this, you guys got to go down to the bottom and go to register for version 20 on the lower right here. It says register for free. Click on that. Now, we didn't set this up for you. So you're going to have to enroll here. And then you're going to create a new account. So you're going to click on this. And then go through this whole thing. Okay. Not a lot of stuff here. Your email, account, username, type in our school name, host group, and just type in your passwords, and then go ahead and click create account. Now, when you create an account, just a heads up, sometimes you might have to leave that browser and then launch a new browser. Sometimes, as I've heard students report, they just see a blue screen. There's nothing to it. You can log in, but there's no information. Sometimes there's a little bit of a glitch with this software in the only initial stage is when you're at that browser. So you have to X out of that browser, launch a new browser, and then log back in. Or you might have to clear your browser cache, which is another thing that I'm going to tell you guys that you might have to do. Sometimes if you log out and log back into the webinar software, it might say error, so login error or something like that, like a 404 redirect or something like that. And if it does, you just need to X out, and sometimes you might need to clear your browser cache to log back in. It's not just this software. It's like lots of other things. Consumers, now that we've been doing so much streaming, so much stuff, our browser cache gets really overloaded. And sometimes when you're logging out of a Zoom session, logging in, logging out, logging in, sometimes it won't let you log back in. It's because the browser cache needs to just be cleared. Wherever you are, whatever browser you're using, if you just go to the settings, go to privacy and security, and then go to look for browser. If most of you guys hopefully are using Chrome, it's the preferred browser for all of the stuff that we're doing. If you can use Chrome, if you're using Edge, or if you're using Firefox, or whatever you're using is fine. Chrome works the best, and it tends to be the most stable for a lot of this stuff. And clearing browser cache is just something that you might want to consider doing. You don't have to, clear all of the passwords and stuff like that you might have stored in browser, but you might want to clear your browser cache. Okay. All right. So that's the software. That's one group of supplements. So you have this awesome textbook. Inside of the textbook, you have access to the quizzes, the math, and all that other good stuff, but also you have access to these quizzes, and you have access to the software and everything else. All right. All right. And then once you get to those, you have QBank, you have the outlines, you have all of that other stuff. So there's a good chunk of supplements. Now, the other items outside of the book that we have is we have some homework. So the homework, as you guys know, or we're doing it inside of Teachable. Now, some of you guys, when you registered, we're transitioning to another learning system. So we use two learning systems right now. We're using one called Teachable, and we're using another one called Kajabi. And for some of you guys, you ended up in our Kajabi course platform, which is fine. We're like transitioning slowly, and which is why that some of you guys had access to it on like some split tests. But I'm going to be referring to all of our work inside of Teachable. So just so you know, whatever LMS you're using, all of the content is the same. However, Kate will be setting up an account for all of you guys in Teachable to have access to a few more cool supplements. So that's what these are next. So number one, you guys all have this homework that you guys have to do. So the homework has to be done. It's all about 14 hours or so of content. It's sort of on-demand videos, and that's how we kind of have it structured. And to get access to the actual modules, once you log in, on the lower left side, there's a little tab here that says required courses here. Right? So on the lower left side, it says required courses here. If you click on that, you guys are going to see the courses. Now, here's the different modules. We have, the Massachusetts exam. We have brokerage and sales. We have fair housing. We have environmental. We have agency relationships. We have contracts. We have appraisals, and we have this topic called interests in real property. So you guys totally have 8 modules, I guess you can call them, of homework, right? You can start at any one of these, but you have to complete all of the videos. So you can't fast forward or rewind. You have to complete at least 90% of each video, and then it goes to the next one, and then it goes to the next one. Any attempt to circumvent those, don't do it. We have like tripwires and triggers. So, to alert us. So don't do it. You got to go through the 14 hours. You have to finish the homework. But once they unlock, then you can fast forward, scrub, rewind. You can do whatever you want. So my suggestion is take a little bit every evening and go about it. Now, it doesn't mean that in the first pass, you guys have to learn everything. So maybe you play the videos, you listen, you're kind of doing your thing, but you're listening in. Some of it's going in, some of it's not going in, and you finish. The video's unlocked. Then you can go back and really study. You're going to have at least 30 days before you'll be able to take that examination anyway. We're going to talk about the test, but you'll have some time. And in any event, because you have some time, you want to study it. You'll have access to our homework videos for at least 30 days after this class concludes. If you need a little bit more time, let us know and we'll be happy to help. All right. So just to kind of show you, you pop open one of these things, you pop open fair housing. There's a couple of videos here. It looks like there's 3 fair housing videos. It's about, like an hour or a little more than an hour. And you just kind of run through the homework and you just kind of play them. They're just videos if you guys are already into it. Some of you guys, even though it's a big group, are already done with your homework. Some of you guys already finished your 14 hours. So, man, good for you. But that's, a module. Oh, crap. I went to the wrong spot. Hold on. Sometimes if you click on the wrong button, when you're in the admin panel, it kind of pushes you. Just a minute. Okay. So we're back in the homework, and again, go to required courses here, and let's go to this one, this Massachusetts course. So remember I told you that the textbook covers the national components. Well, this course in our homework covers all of the Massachusetts topics, specifically addressing Massachusetts. So let's go open this one. And if we scroll this guy down, there's like 73 videos. Now, they're not long. Look, some of this looks like 5 minutes. That's like 5 minutes. That's 4 minutes. That's 2 minutes and 59 seconds. So it's like there's a minute 39. So these are short videos. There's about 73 of them, but they cover all of the outline topics that the state wants you to learn for Massachusetts. So this is painstakingly done. There's a lot of content here, but it's all of the stuff that you're going to come across in those sections. Now, some of the videos are longer than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Some will be a little bit longer than that. But at the end of the day, here's all of your Massachusetts content. Okay, so I want all of you to know that the Mass content lives right here, and it's one of your homework modules. So no matter what, y'all have to do it in order to get credit for the class. Number 1, it's about 3.5 hours. So number 2, we're covering it in the homework, and it's there. That's where you're going to find all of your Massachusetts stuff. All right, so that's all of your homework. Here's my question. Does everybody have access to their homework, can get to their homework, and knows how to find their Massachusetts content? I want to make sure that you guys know that. I'm going to read some of the questions that are coming in. Hang on 1 second. All right, so and Kate's going to help some of you guys with logging into homework and everything else. So just kind of once you hear this, just let me know that you guys can get into the homework. Those, that just say, yep, I can see it, I'm in there. At registration, you would have been sent the access to the homework. So some of you guys that just didn't see the email, check your promotions folder of your Gmailers, check your junk or spam. Usually it goes there. It ends up, right in. Roger's saying yes. Money's saying yes. Just checking here. Taryn's saying yes. Brian's saying yes. Zoe's Kate will help you. Gabriella's saying yes. Debbie's saying yes. Amanpreet saying yes. Minmensi's saying yes. Raven's saying yes. Ivani's saying no, and we'll get you. We were saying yes. All right, good. Awesome, man. Welcome, by the way. I'm like saying your names. You guys all have cool names. Zoe, I think you're Benson, I think you're a JLLer. Who from JLL told you to take this? I know a bunch of those clowns that work there. A bunch of them, including Maddie. So let me know, and I'll tell you funny stories all about them. All right, so we've got all of our homework lives here. Now, another supplement that Kate will be assigning to you is it's called the HG Library. Now, the HG Library is a separate course that we're going to be hooking you up with. And what this is, and again, we're going to drip this out to you probably in a day or two, just so that there's not information overload. But I want to show you what this is because it's going to be cool. So at the end of every session that I teach, we record all of this stuff, right? So we record the interactions and everything. We record it. So what we do here in this core library is we'll repost all of the broadcasts. So all of the replays of the courses that you're actually taking, the live streams, we are going to post here. It's either going to be your actual session or a previous session that we just recorded or whatnot. So here's where that's going to be. Okay, so we'll post those sessions. And then also underneath that, if you scroll to below those videos, you will find our PowerPoints, the slide decks that I'm going to be using during the live class. So what I would do, Becca. Yeah, Becca, tell Becca what's up. I've known Becca for a long, long time. So here, and all of these PowerPoints just run autonomously. You guys can download these and everything else. Now, if there's any videos that I post in the live feed, like here, then you guys should be able to, depending if you see a little thing underneath it, you guys should be able to download the audio. So if you see here, there's to be a little tab for a lot of my stuff where you can download all of the audio. For those of you guys that are auditory and drivers that drive by learning, I know a lot of you guys do that. I also learn a lot by driving around and, ingesting a lot of content many times. So with that in mind, if you need to download the audio from days, you can do that. Now, every day will be covered here, days 1, 2, 3, and 4 to correspond with the different live days that I'm streaming. So all of those contents are there. And again, another trick with some of these videos, just to show you. On some of these videos, there'll be a search tool that pops up. And if you type in phrases, it searches through the videos and it finds various phrases and at those specific points. So these are searchable videos as well. Okay. And then there's this other thing that says search the library, another button at the bottom. If you click on that, there's a master search. And if you put in like a phrase, like encroachments, or let's say redlining, click on redlining, it goes through my massive collection of videos of me teaching over the years, all kinds of stuff, and it finds those phrases. And then what you can do is you can literally just click on that and it'll launch a video, and that's the video right there. What is the definition of redlining? It'll find out that exact phrase. So as you guys are learning vocab phrases and things like that, there are ways to search through my library of content and do it. Now, any of this stuff, the reason why we don't give it to you right away is because none of this video footage is locked. So I don't want a student to get confused and go, oh, wow, look at all this stuff. Watch this instead of the homework. I want you guys to all understand. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you all understand that all of these other supplements are not giving you credit for the hours? The only two are the live stream that you're attending right now and the homework, which you guys have to complete. Those are the only two things that you have to do. Those are all required. So when you're absolutely done with all of your stream and you're done with all of your homework, then you're going to reach back out to us and say, hey, I finished everything. We do a quick audit of your account. We make sure your homework's all done. We make sure that your streams and you've attended all of the sessions, and then we certify you. It's really easy, but all of the other stuff we're giving you isn't really giving you hours of completion. So I want to be careful about that. Make sure you're clear. Does everybody understand that you have to do the 14 hours of homework and attend all of these live stream sessions in order to complete this course? So just send me a message in the chat that says, yep, I understand. I understand that I have to do all the homework, 14 hours, and attend all of the days of the stream. Give me something to that effect so I know that you guys have it. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Just helping Kate out a little bit, just making sure. Kate will take care of you guys that are having login issues. Sweet. All right. Don't worry. For those of you guys that are having login issues, we work them all out. There's never been a time that I haven't seen it not really work. So it works, y'all. Trust me. I'll stake my hair on it. I ain't got no hair. So all right. Now, the sort of the housekeeping, this general stuff was kind of out of the way. And what I want to do next is I want to kind of give you the breakdown of what we're going to do in class and how we're going to approach it. And so now that you have all of your supplements, what do you need out right now? What do we need? We need you to have access to Vital Source right now. So do you have access to Vital Source? Can you get to your book? That's one of the questions. I'm asking rhetorically. You don't have to answer that question. So I need you to be able to get access to Vital Source, number one. Number two, I need you to be able to see and hear me. That's really it. And then I'm going to be working on my notes. I'm going to be popping between a couple of different tabs in a browser. I'm going to be working in the book. That's really it. And go into my lecture. We're going to be recording this, so if there's something that you missed. Now, as you're taking notes, there might be something that I go by pretty quickly. So I can't really slow down much because everything is timed as far as what I'm teaching. I'll try my best to get to questions as they come up, but write the topic down. No matter what, I will always tell you the topic that I'm in. So like first off, I always start in with brokerage, right? So, okay, brokerage and licensing. So we'll write down brokerage and licensing. So you know kind of the top master topic that I'm in, and then you follow along from there, okay? I'm going to also show you outlines and where you can download certain outlines that you can follow along, to the test and the test outlines, which is what I'm keying this entire lecture to. So the first thing and only thing I really need you to have access to is your book. So Vital Source, I really want you to have access to, right? So like back to the library. I want you to all have access to your modern real estate practice. Be able to pop that open. That's very useful. And then I will jump between that, and I'm going to jump between that and my whiteboard. So this is my whiteboard, for example, and I'll have slides, and I'll be able to talk about stuff, and I'll be able to, annotate, mark up, blah, blah. I can do all of that stuff here. All right. So I'll be messing with the slide decks. And again, remember, the slide decks are also in your Teachable accounts. So you guys have access to those. Ultimately, Kate will give you access to those. So you'll see them. So right here, whatever you're seeing, you'll have access to all of those slides. Okay. They're yours afterwards. All right, so that's sort of how I'm going to be jumping. There's relevant documentation and stuff. I'll be able to blow it up and show you the various disclosures and stuff like that, so we can get into all of that stuff as well. All right, so that's sort of how I'm going to do this. The next section that I want to make sure that we have is information about the actual exam. Now, before we get into the exam, the course is structured with plenty of little micro breaks throughout. I'll give you plenty of breaks. I'll play music, and in between breaks, you guys will have time to decompress. When we start back up, I need you to just basically say, I'm here. So I need to know that you're here once we come back from break, always. So always just check in and say, I'm here, present, whatever. Give me any of that stuff. That's cool. Then between 12:45 and 1:30 every day, we're going to have a lunch break. I'll give you guys about 45 minutes to decompress. In that time, I will basically, the stream will still be on. I still need you to be logged into the stream for attendance purposes, but there'll be no training or programming. I'm going to use them in an emergency sake, in case we have to cut session short, something happens. Who knows? If there's some massive storm and we're in the city, but if there's something that knocks out our power or something happens and we can't broadcast, I'm trying to use it as like trailers to make sure that we have some time in there. So always stay logged in, even during lunch, but the programming will be just switched off, and then we'll turn it back on and you'll hear me lecturing by 1:30. So from 12:45 to 1:30 every day, you guys have a lunch break. And we wrap by around 3:15, 3:30. So around there. So I do intend on keeping you the entire time, and I do intend on teaching you the entire time. So there'll be no cutting the course short kind of a thing. But there'll be plenty of breaks throughout, okay? So that's what's sort of the lay of this course and how it flows. Plenty of little breaks. And what I want to do here is I actually want to call our first quick break. Let's take a break here. And what I want you to do before we break is I'm going to be getting into the exam, what the exam is, who the who's the company that gives the test and everything else. So before we go, I want you to launch a browser and meet me at psiexams with an s.com. psiexams.com. So just go there, and this is the page that you guys are going to be on. Kate will post a link in the chat as well. So she'll just post that real quick, psiexams with an s.com. Meet me on this page. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our first short break here. You'll hear a little bit of music, maybe 7 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, and then we'll pop right back in and we'll get into the PSI, the outlines. And then from there, once I show you the outlines, and I'll show you how to sign up for the test, and I'll show you all of that stuff coming up next. Once we get through that, then we'll get into content, and we'll be sort of free birds. All right, so we'll go into that in a little bit. Enjoy really quickly, refuel, get a cup of coffee or tea, and I'll see you guys in just a little bit.
Isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, tripping fast, and then we talk slow. And you come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop it, and the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist